I want to talk to you about something different. First, show of hands. Everyone put their hands up. Who is planning to go into business and have your own business in the next few years? Hands up. Okay. Interesting. A few hands. Well, for those of you who put your hands up, congratulations. Well done. Good luck. And for the rest of you, I don't blame you. I mean, like, you guys are clinicians, right? You're clinical. You just spent the last 5 years doing a clinical degree. You're pharmacists. You're going to be pharmacists very shortly. And you didn't go through all of that to become healthcare professionals just to go into business, right? Well, that's what I used to think. You see, once upon a time, I was actually sat exactly where you're sat. I just finished my pharmacy pre-reg. It was actually in Southmead Hospital in Bristol. And I loved it. It was clinical. I had a fantastic time doing ward rounds. There was respect. There was recognition. There was people who would come to me, actually ask me for my knowledge, and it was appreciated. But then the day I qualified, I decided to do something a bit different. I decided to leave hospital and go and work in community. I'm going to be honest, I lasted 1 day. By the end of this day, oh my God, I just got, what did I let myself in for? What is this? I couldn't stand it. There was no recognition. I just felt like a glorified shopkeeper in a white coat. Anyway, I persisted doing locums for a bit longer. I carried on. I needed the money. And then after a while, I had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. And I was about to jack it all in. I was about to leave pharmacy, go off and do something else, just start again. Genuinely, that's the stage I'd got to. But then I made a decision, and that decision changed my life. I decided to go and buy a pharmacy business. Anyway, pharmacies are not cheap for those of you who know about pharmacies. They were really expensive. So I had to find the most dingiest dive I could find to make an offer. So anyway, I found a pharmacy and I made an offer. It was actually for £50,000. And then of course I needed to raise the money. I had luckily saved about £12,000 doing locums for the last year or so. And then I had to top it up. So the only asset I had was my beloved Volkswagen Golf from university days, which was the Uber of its time for my friends. And I sold that for £3,000. I managed to get £15,000. I put it together. The rest was borrowed from a bank, and I bought my first pharmacy. I was 24 years old. I've been in business now for 30 years, more than 30 years. And today I want to share with you the lessons I've learned about being in business, about being an entrepreneur. I want to share with you 5 fundamental principles about business, 5 things that no one will ever teach you, not business school, not anywhere else. If you do these 5 things, for those of you who put your hands up, these will help you succeed. And for the rest of you who didn't put your hands up, do these 5 things, or maybe these 5 things will inspire you to think differently about your future. So here are Tariq's 5 Ps, okay? Remember these. First one, purpose. Now there's lots of reasons why people go into business. Some do it for the money, some do it to be their own boss, some do it for the prestige. But you see, I don't believe you should ever go into business for any of those reasons. The only reason you should go into business is for a purpose. Now, of course, there's plenty of people who make business out of buying stuff and selling stuff, and of course, that's good. But it's only businesses with purpose that actually truly change the world. I mean, look around you. Look at everything in your lives today, everything that you depend on, everything that you value, that you appreciate around you. It has come from someone who once upon a time had an idea, had a purpose, and made a business out of it. Whether we talk about Apple, whether we talk about Microsoft or Amazon or Meta, or we talk about any of these in the UK, Dyson, Virgin, all of these have been founded by entrepreneurs who had a purpose. And they made a business out of it, and they changed your world. Now, when I went into pharmacy, my purpose was to change pharmacy. I didn't like what I saw, and I decided to make that change for myself and also for future generations. And that was my purpose. And today, I run a company called Titan, and Titan is revolutionizing the way that pharmacies work. Titan has changed the way that pharmacies operate in terms of patient safety, and it's the fastest growing and the most successful PMR system in the market. But what makes me most proud is that when you guys qualify and you go into a community pharmacy in the months ahead, you will be using technology and systems and processes that my company created or were inspired by my company. So, number one lesson is find a purpose, make a business out of it, and then go into business, and maybe you will make tomorrow better than today in a way that no job, no salaried position ever will. Next P, problems. Now, we think, okay, if you're going to ask someone in business school or whatever, you think that, to run a business, you need to know about profit and loss, balance sheets, business plans, cash flow forecasts. Yawn, don't need to know any of that stuff. You can hire people for all of that stuff. Hire an accountant. The only skill that you need in running a business is the ability to solve problems. If problem solving was a muscle in your body, you need to be bench pressing 100 kg of this. If you can look at problems and not be fazed, if you can look at problems and see opportunities, if you can look at problems and positively embrace them, then you have the ability to succeed in business. I'm going to tell you a story. I had been now in business for a while, so this is going back 25 years, long before, probably before many of you were born. To picture this, I had a chain of pharmacies. I was the owner, I was a superintendent, and anyway, we had an incident. One of my staff dispensed a drug in a pharmacy, and the pharmacist checked it, and it went out, except it was the wrong label on the wrong drug, on the wrong packet. Anyway, it went out, the patient took it. Unfortunately, the patient ended up in ICU, in hospital, and they nearly died. The family made a complaint, and then as a result of that, a fitness to practice investigation was launched. And because I was the superintendent of the business, I was the one hauled in front of fitness to practice. Now, that whole investigation lasted for a year. It was the worst experience of my life. Fortunately, at the end of it, they decided to drop the case. But what that did for me was to go back. I went away and I thought, I cannot let this ever happen to me again. And from that, I came up with a system. And that system said, we're going to make a new dispensing process where you take the packet, and from that packet, you scan the barcode, and if the barcode is correct, then we will issue the dispensing label. We implemented that process in all my pharmacies, and since that day, we never made a dispensing error ever again. That same process is the process that is in Titan today. It is the reason why Titan is the most successful system. From that one problem that I had, which was detrimental to me, resulted in a change which will now mean that you, when you go into your jobs tomorrow, your lives will be that much easier and patients' lives will be that much safer. When you look at problems, embrace them. Don't be afraid of them, because that is the one thing that will help you succeed. We talked about, what sometimes, going into business is about business plans and cash flow and all of that kind of stuff. You have to have a future. You have to have a pathway. You need to have your goals mapped out. And many times we do. Businesses spend a lot of time mapping out their future, what they need to do in the next 5 years. I believe that you do not need to know any of those things, because the thing is, in business, you may never reach that destination. You may never reach that point. So the thing is, in business or in life generally, your destination isn't guaranteed. The only thing guaranteed is your journey. So make your journey something that you can enjoy. Like you go on any journey, you go on a journey with people whose company you enjoy. So surround yourselves with people whose company you enjoy and enjoy the ride, because you may never get to the destination, but you will have a good ride getting there. Now, in my business, for example, just to give you an illustration, in my business today, my COO is my best friend from university who I met in Freshers Week. My CTO is my younger brother. My director of sales is my cousin. My chief information officer is a guy who joined me when he left university. My CFO is my accountant, is someone who joined the day he qualified. And the list goes on. These guys have been with me for 25 years. But the point is, if you can create a business where work is not work, where your staff are not your staff, but they're your friends, they're your family, and work does not feel like work, it feels like something that you're enjoying, then you have created a culture which will allow you to really have the right ingredients for success. The next P, product. A lot of time we make products, businesses make products, and we think that once we've made a product, we've got to go off and then keep selling it. And a product could be a service, it could be a weight loss service, or it could be a menopause service, it could be a physical product. And we think that once we've made it, we have to go off and sell it, and there's a lot of pressure to increase sales and do that kind of stuff. In pharmacy, unfortunately, there's been too much stack it high, sell it cheap. And you'll see this when you go into the profession. You'll see a lot of pharmacists competing with each other, and it's always a race to the bottom. I believe that actually what you need to do is you need to invest in what you have made and look after your current customers, look after your patients, look after the people who have already bought from you. Look after them, and they will then become your advocates who will then sell whatever product or service it is that you are supplying. So add value, and especially as you are now becoming your IPs, you're going to go out, you're going to be providing new services. Do not undervalue yourselves. Do not undersell yourselves. Value yourselves and sell yourselves at the right premium price. And the last one, possibility. We all have in us a sense of fear. Now, fear is good, by the way, because having some fear is what stops us doing something stupid like jumping off the edge of a cliff. But fear of failure is actually what stops us going into business. Those of you who didn't put your hands up, within many of you, there will be a sense that I can't do this. There's a fear. Some of it's irrational, but some of it becomes irrational. Let me tell you a story. Now, I had spent 20 years building a pharmacy chain, and the business had become very large. We were very successful. But then one time, the NHS made a change to the way that they price drugs. And as a result of that, shortly afterwards, it wiped £1 million off our profit. And the business went into administration, and the business I had built for a long time went bust. Now, you'd think that at that point, that confirms the entire fear that we all have. Well, there you are. See, you failed. And you think that that was the end. But actually, it wasn't the end, because I still had my purpose. I still had people, but I had something else now. I had experience. And from that incident, I actually ended up creating a new business. And that business is called Titan. It has grown to now becoming the most successful pharmacy software system in the country. You see, when you go into business, believing in the possible is what we need to overcome our fears. Possibility is when you can believe in yourself. You can believe in being able to achieve things that you never thought of, being able to get through your darkest moments, to be able to get up even when you've been knocked out. That is possibility. And that's something that you all have in you. So there you are. There's my 5 Ps, my lessons that I'd like to share with you. If you do these things, you will also be able to go into business and not look at business as a scary thing. If you can master these things, you will be able to succeed. Here's the last thing I want to say to you. I have never met someone who in their 50s or 60s looks back at their life and says, I went into business, but I shouldn't have done it. But I have met so many people in their 50s and 60s who wished they had gone and taken that idea that they had and made a business out of it and gave it a try. So be bold, be brave, and remember, as good pharmacists, you will be able to help patients and change patients' lives. But only great pharmacists will change lives for everyone. So go and be that pharmacist. Thank you.